Okay, imagine this for a second. You're, say, 62. You've had a long career, really successful. Maybe you were a CFO, chief financial officer, dealing with strategy, big numbers.
Right, very analytical.
Or maybe a CPA, certified public accountant, everything precise, by the book,
Yeah.
decades of spreadsheets, systems, knowing how things work. You've basically got it figured out.
Yeah, you feel like you've seen it all, done it all.
Then suddenly you're in like an art class and you're messing around with this colorful, sticky resin, trying to make something, and you feel totally lost, maybe a bit like a kid again.
While your partner's maybe trying not to chuckle in the corner.
Exactly. It sounds pretty wild, right? A total shift.
Definitely.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating story like that. It comes from Curt Roese. He's actually the founder of Retirepreneur.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he's currently a grad student too, University of Florida, doing a master's in entrepreneurship. And one course called Creativity and Entrepreneurship, well, it didn't just challenge him. It seems like it kind of turned his whole idea of innovation upside down
In a good way, I take it.
in some really surprising and, yeah, ultimately beneficial ways. So our mission today is to really unpack that how getting uncomfortable, embracing what Curt calls a beginner's mind, can actually unlock creativity, especially if you're looking at, new ventures later in life, a second act.
The beginner's mind concept is so powerful.
Right. And Curt's story, it's more than just a story. It might be a shortcut for you, listening right now, to understand why thinking outside that typical spreadsheet box is, well, it's crucial. It's not just nice to have.
It's essential for real breakthroughs. And what's so interesting, starting with Curt, is how his background, the CFO's CPA thing, actually set him up to be pretty skeptical at first.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, he fully expected this creativity class to be like a really dry academic class, just studying other people's creativity from a distance.
And analyzing it, not doing it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Definitely not something that would force him to change or question his own rigid habits built over 40 years in business and life, as he put it.
Wow, 40 years of habits, that's ingrained. So he thought he'd just observe, but the course pulled him in instead. How did that happen? What was the spark that kind of shook up this really seasoned professional?
Well, it seems like it started by basically throwing him into the deep end. Situations where he felt completely out of his depth. Awkward.
Like that resin art class you mentioned?
Precisely. Picture Curt, 62, used to total control in his work, suddenly faced with this, well, messy, unpredictable art form. He said he was fumbling like a kindergartner, and his wife, Sherry, was there, trying hard not to laugh.
Oh man, I can just picture the scene.
And the key wasn't really the art itself, it was the feeling, that deep discomfort of being a total newbie. For someone who felt he had business figured out, suddenly not knowing, being visibly unskilled, that was the real disruptor. It hits the ego, shakes up your assumptions.
It really does. It's that vulnerability, isn't it? We spend so much time building expertise, it feels almost physically uncomfortable to be bad at something again. Why do you think we resist that feeling so much, especially when we're accomplished?
Well, it's human nature, right? We like feeling competent. Our identity gets wrapped up in what we know, what we're good at. Being a beginner, again, feels like, well, like stripping that away. It exposes you to judgment, maybe failure.
Which feels risky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Curt's experience shows that's precisely where the new stuff happens.
Mm.
When your ego steps back a bit, you can actually learn, see things differently. The discomfort isn't the enemy. It's actually the doorway.
That's a fantastic way to put it, the doorway. And okay, so the course didn't just stop with messy art. It pushed him further, right? Another challenge.
It did. The next assignment was simple, but kind of terrifying. Do something creative and uncomfortable.
Okay. What did he choose?
He decided to finally learn to play his guitar properly. He said he kind of noodled with it for years, but never honestly played it. The task. Practice Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones every day for 2 weeks.
Classic.
Memorize the chords, get the rhythm down, and then here's the uncomfortable part, play it for Cherie while she recorded him.
Oof. Okay, performing, even for your wife, when you know you're not great, that takes guts. He actually said his hands were sweaty, his rhythm was off, but he pushed through, he did it. What extra layer did this add, do you think, compared to the art class?
I think this was really about public vulnerability, or at least recorded vulnerability. As a leader, Curt spent decades in his comfort zone, right? Boardrooms, financial reports, places he felt totally in control.
Sure, his domain.
He realized he almost never put himself in situations where failure was visible, let alone likely. And this led to a huge insight for him, maybe the core of it all. That's where creativity lives. on the edge between curiosity and fear.
Wow. On the edge between curiosity and fear.
Think about it. Most of us back away from that edge. But Curt found that uncertain space where things might go wrong, that's actually what sparks original thinking. It forces you to adapt, to try things you wouldn't normally consider. It's basically embracing the unknown, which is, fundamental for any entrepreneur.
That really reframes creativity. It's less about talent, more about the courage to be uncertain, maybe even look a bit silly. Okay, so he spaced messy art, shaky guitar solos. What came next? It seems like the discoveries kept building. You mentioned Legos.
Yes, this sounds almost mundane, but it was really significant. Curt and Sherry decided to build a Lego rose bouquet together, something they hadn't done, since their kids were small.
Ha! Okay, so just playing.
Pretty much. He painted the picture. No laptops, no research, just tinkering, talking. He was jotting down ideas for his business, Retirepreneur, on a notepad. They were outside, there was a fountain making noise, just a relaxed, different kind of environment.
And that led to a breakthrough, just building Legos.
It did. He called it one of his biggest realizations. It wasn't the Legos themselves, but the process, the lack of pressure, the playful atmosphere.
What was the realization about Retirepreneur?
He suddenly saw that he was building this new venture, like every other business I'd built before, structured, efficient, safe, standard operating procedure for him.
Right, falling back on what worked before.
Exactly. And then he asked this crucial question. What if the best ideas wouldn't show up on a spreadsheet? What if I needed to play a little first?
Ah, that's a shift. Play first.
Yeah, so he literally paused his business building. He decided to start over, in a sense, and ask different questions. The playfulness, the lack of structure, it opened a door that his usual analytical approach probably would have kept firmly shut.
It shows that sometimes the path to innovation isn't straight, is it? It's more wandering, more playful.
Definitely. It makes you think, how many ideas do we miss because we're just sticking to the plan, to the efficient way?
So for someone listening, maybe someone who's been doing things a certain way for a long time, what's the takeaway here? It's about allowing that space for nonlinear thinking.
I think so. It's recognizing that the very systems that bring us success can also box us in. Play isn't just for kids, it's a tool to break patterns, allow for unexpected connections, serendipity, which rarely happens when you're just following steps 1, 2, 3.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, and speaking of unexpected connections and new tools, Curt's journey didn't stop with analog creativity. He actually embraced tech for his final project, right? Something with AI.
That's right. This really shows how broad creativity can be.
Yeah.
His final project wasn't more art or music. He built a custom GPT assistant for Retirepreneur.
Okay, explain that a bit. A GPT assistant.
Sure. So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Basically, it's an AI you can talk to like a very smart chatbot. Curt designed his specifically to help him with his business. He described it as part strategist, part writing partner, part creative coach.
Wow, so it helps him brainstorm, test ideas.
Exactly. Generate ideas, test concepts. It even challenges his assumptions. It's like having an always-on, slightly objective thinking partner.
And he made this interesting comment. And unlike my inner critic, it doesn't judge. That's huge, isn't it? Using tech to bypass that internal editor that stops so many ideas.
It's fascinating. He used technology to create a safer space for his human creativity to flourish. It just underlines that creativity today isn't just paint and paper. It's digital. It's experimental. It's about finding the tools, whatever they are, resin, guitars, Legos, AI, that help you think differently.
It really broadens the definition. Okay, so after all these varied, sometimes weird, sometimes techie experiences, Curt drew some really important conclusions, especially about why this matters more as you get older. By your 60s, you have so much experience, you've built things, seen things work.
And that's the paradox, right? All that valuable experience, those tried and true methods, they can become blinders. You get so good at your way, the way that's always worked, that it gets harder and harder to even see other possibilities. It's a cognitive trap almost.
Yeah, your strengths become limitations. So the big question this raises, for all of us really, is how do you stop that from happening? How do you keep your experience from boxing you in?
That is the million-dollar question, especially if you're thinking about a second act or starting something new later in life. Curt's point is powerful. Creativity isn't just for kids or artists. It's for anyone brave enough to say, maybe there's another way.
And for retirees starting businesses, he calls it their secret weapon. Why a secret weapon?
Well, it's not about becoming Picasso overnight. It's the mindset. That willingness to become a beginner again. That's the weapon. It lets you see your experience with fresh eyes. It gives you the courage to prototype without pressure. Just try stuff, mess around, without needing it to be perfect right away.
And that crucial idea to try before you optimize, that feels so counterintuitive to how business usually works.
Totally. Especially for someone like Curt, used to maximizing efficiency from day one. This idea of experimenting first, then optimizing. It's revolutionary. It's about fostering exploration, accepting that the best ideas often start out a bit messy.
It really sounds like his journey is a huge lesson in letting go of the need to be perfect, the need to know, and just embracing the process of finding out.
Absolutely. Stepping outside, being okay with looking a bit foolish sometimes,
Hmm.
approaching things with curiosity, like we did as kids, really.
Yeah.
That's where the real discovery happens.
So, after all that, Kurt's advice is actually pretty simple, pretty down to earth. He basically says, grab your music instrument, take an art class, sit on the beach and journal, and let your creativity come out.
Find your thing. Whatever pushes you slightly out of your comfort zone, breaks your routine, gets you playing again.
So we'd encourage you, listening now, maybe think about it. What's one small, uncomfortable, maybe creative step you could take this week, this weekend? What little act of being a beginner could you try?
Just a small step.
What a story, though. Curt Roese, the experienced CFO at 62, finding a whole new way to think about innovation through resin, rock and roll, Legos with his wife Sherry, even building an AI buddy. It's just such a powerful reminder that real innovation often kicks off with play, with a bit of discomfort, and yeah, that courage to be a beginner.
Really inspiring stuff.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to chew on. If embracing visible failure and childlike curiosity could totally shift how a seasoned pro approaches business at 62, what habits, what comfort zones in your life might be holding you back from your own next big idea, or maybe even just a more creative, fulfilling path?